Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you have decided to view this week's video. We are continuing our study through the book of Philippians, and you'll notice we're going to look at verse 12 this morning, and this begins a new paragraph where I have labeled this as Paul pursuing the goal, chapter 3, verses 12 through 16. And I think here the pursuing of the goal is in reference to, I believe, verse 11, where he mentions the fact that he might attain, he might achieve, or gain to the resurrection from the dead. So the concept of resurrection and that final climactic knowing God that he was after there in the preceding paragraph, verses 7 through 11. I think the full knowledge of Christ that he will receive when he's resurrected from the dead, I think that's what he's pursuing here, is that ultimate knowledge or perfect knowledge of God here. So let's look at verse 12. He says, "Not that I have already obtained, or that I have already become perfect, but I am pursuing, if also I may lay hold of that for which also I was laid hold of by Christ Jesus." So you have here the Laban, that is your third person singular aorist active indicative of lambano. And again, I think it's likely what it is that he hasn't obtained is the resurrection from the dead that I pointed out at the beginning of the video, that it's I haven't quite obtained that, and that was what we just discussed in verse 11. Now the my here, this tetele o my, first person singular perfect passive indicative of teleao. This is where he says, I not only have I not obtained, but I've not become perfect. And it is interesting that this is in the perfect passive first person singular. That again is in the state of being perfect. That is the stative aspect, the perfect tense form. He's not quite there yet, but yet he's pursuing that goal, that knowledge of Christ. And then the de here, that signals what he has not yet obtained, but yet what he continues in a positive direction, what it is that he's pursuing. And that is in the dioko verb here, I am pursuing. Again, what it is that he's pursuing, again, I believe is that resurrection, that full knowledge of Christ from verses 7 through 11. The F ho, okay, the F ho here, for which, this is what Paul is pursuing, precisely what Christ has taken hold of him. And you see the hupa here plus the genitive, the Christou Jesu. This prepositional phrase here would denote agency. So Christ has already laid hold of him through his salvation. I think this will get us started here. This was verse 12 in the overall paragraph of verses 12 through 16. We will look next week at verses 13 and 14, and then the following week, verses 15 through 16. Trust you have a great week. See you next week.